Just hours after a ceasefire between the United States and Iran was announced, Israel launched its largest attacks on Lebanon, striking the capital city, Beirut, as well as the Bekaa Valley and southern parts of the country.
It was supposed to be quiet, but suddenly the whole city exploded. In the midst of talks about a ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran, a big question arose. Is Lebanon included in that agreement? According to reports, Pakistan stated that the ceasefire is for all fronts and that Lebanon is included. But on Israel's side, the answer is clear. They will not stop. And that was the beginning of a night that brought fear and chaos. And it had a huge impact not only on the war, but also on the economy of the entire region. Beirut was suddenly hit, especially its southern suburbs. This was not a simple airstrike. Its targets were residential areas, places where there are families, children, and ordinary people. According to sources in Lebanon, this is one of the heaviest attacks since the war began. For its part, Israel says it hit Hezbollah's infrastructure. But on the ground, a different picture is emerging. Buildings destroyed, roads filled with debris, and a city that suddenly seemed thrown into disarray. It's not just Beirut that was hit. In southern Lebanon, strikes also happened one after another, especially in the city of Tyre. Even before the bombs fell, there were warnings of forced evacuation. But in reality, not everyone was able to get out. And as the attacks continued, more than 1.2 million people were forced to evacuate. Just think about that. Not only is it a humanitarian crisis, but also an economic collapse in the places they left behind. Businesses closed, supply chains were cut off, local income suddenly disappeared. The impact isn't just on Lebanon, but on the entire Middle East economy. In the coastal city of Sidon, the tragedy became even worse. No less than 8 people were killed in the airstrike. And this happened just moments before the ceasefire was announced. Timing that makes the situation even more complicated because while there are talks of peace, there are cities burning. And when things like this happen, one thing is definitely affected: investor confidence. When the region is not stable, the risk increases, investors pull out, and economic activity drops. According to reporter Malcolm Webb, there were almost simultaneous loud explosions in different parts of Beirut. Not just in one place, but in many parts of the city. You can see thick smoke rising into the sky. And on the ground, people are running, children are crying, and the wounded are desperately trying to reach the hospital. Some even abandoned their vehicles in the middle of traffic just to escape. What's even more shocking is that some of the places hit had no clear presence of Hezbollah. This means that even though Israel issued a warning about the southern suburbs, the scope of the attack widened, and according to Israel's own military, this was the largest strike since their operation began last month. Almost 100 sites were targeted, but behind all of this, it's not just a battle of bullets and bombs. It's also a battle for money, resources, and control. When cities are destroyed, the local economy collapses. When transport and trade are cut off, supply chains are affected. And when the conflict intensifies, oil prices in the global market go up. In other words, while buildings are collapsing in Beirut, economies in different parts of the world are also beginning to feel the shock. And the question now is, if Lebanon is not included in the ceasefire, how long will this continue? While there are talks about a ceasefire, the military chief of Israel clearly said they will not stop. Their target is Hezbollah, and according to them, they will continue the attacks with determination. This means the fight is not over yet. On the other side, Iran has set different conditions. For them, a ceasefire only makes sense if it covers the entire region. Pakistan said the same thing. Lebanon should be included. But Israel clarified again that Lebanon is not included in the agreement. And it was their own defense minister who said that the attacks across Lebanon will continue against what they call Hezbollah's military infrastructure. As the tension intensifies, other countries have also stepped in. Leaders from the European Union who gathered in Canada called for the ceasefire to be implemented, and Lebanon should be included. But on the ground, a different story is unfolding. A pattern is being noticed. In October 2024, before the last ceasefire, Israel launched a very powerful attack, and now it seems they're repeating the same tactic. Maximum pressure first, before any possible ceasefire. And with this kind of move, it's not just the military that's affected, but also the economy. When the fighting intensifies, the costs of military operations go up. The pressure on the national budget increases, and the infrastructure that brings in revenue gets even more damaged. According to the latest report from the Health Ministry of Lebanon, it's not just a few who have been affected. There are hundreds of casualties, both dead and wounded, not just in Beirut, but throughout the whole country. And according to observers, this is the most widespread and most severe attack in the 6-week war. While there is a ceasefire in Iran, the opposite is happening in Lebanon. And for many Lebanese, this is what they fear, that they are not covered by the peace. According to the Lebanese Red Cross, they expect the number of dead and wounded to rise even further. But for now, there are no exact numbers yet, only fear and chaos, and a city that doesn't know where to run. Another shocking thing is that many of the affected areas had no warning. This is not like previous strikes that had evacuation warnings. This time, commercial areas, residential zones, places not known as Hezbollah bases, were suddenly hit. And because of this, many people had no time to escape. What does this mean in the bigger picture? This is not just a war on the ground, it's also a war on the economy. When commercial zones are hit, businesses collapse. When the infrastructure is destroyed, the supply chain is cut off. And when there's no safety, investors leave. In the end, it's not just buildings that collapse, but also the world's trust in the stability of the region. And now a critical question arises. If there are no warnings in many areas, is this a tactic or a sign that the conflict will spread even further? This is nothing new. They often do this, giving a warning. Then the strike follows, but this time, there's a big problem. Many other targets, especially in the capital itself, were not included in the warning. And this is where everything changed. Because there was no warning, no one was able to prepare. Many buildings were not evacuated. Many people were left inside. And in just a few seconds, the places they thought were safe exploded. Chaos erupted in the streets. And the race for survival began. Children were crying. The wounded were being carried to the hospital. People were screaming in the middle of smoke and debris. It was a scene as if their whole world suddenly collapsed. But what's even more shocking is the speed and scale of the operation. According to reports, there were almost 100 strikes in just 10 minutes. Just think about that. This wasn't a simple attack. This was a coordinated, high-intensity assault. And when it's like this, the attack is fast and widespread. It's not just people who are affected, even the economy is hit. Within 10 minutes, businesses were destroyed, and local trade was cut off, and millions of dollars were lost instantly. Stores, offices, commercial zones, all can disappear in an instant. And when economic activity disappears in a capital city like Beirut, the whole country is affected. Even foreign investors start to pull out. And confidence in the market drops. In other words, this isn't just about fighting. This is a message. Power, control, and pressure, military and economic.